time. So I could ask the engineers questions because they weren't taking interns in Detroit when I was a teen.
Okay.
And so from that, I took the ASVAB test. Uh, it was a moment, because when
Mhm.
the recruiter brought me home, my parents didn't know about it. I kind of snuck out to take the ASVAB
Oh,
test.
okay. So you just came back with like a
I
actual
came back
uniform.
almost like I had signed up, but I wouldn't graduate high school until I graduated high school. I was graduating high school at 17, so I wouldn't even be old enough to leave for the army at the time. My
So
leave date was,
you had
I
to
need
get the
my parents'
permission.
permission,
Yeah.
and my mother, she promised she would not give it because
Oh,
my dad was a Vietnam
how'd you
veteran.
break that down?
It was from 15 and a half to 17. It was just mom like no, and
Uh-huh.
then my dad came to her and was like, yo, he's going to go when he turned 18, but what if something happens? So why don't you support him now?
Right.
And my mom actually did sign,
Okay.
and I left at 17.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you proved yourself worthy in the dojo of mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was I was a mama's boy, but I was still my dad's son.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was a rough year and a half because mom was disappointed.
All right.
You
So
know.
you're in the military.
Mhm.
You do that, and then how does that like take you to this whole other? I mean, so you kept that dream that you had when you were really young.
Yes, the military was merely means steps to a mean, or however that saying go,
Okay.
where it's something I had to do
Mhm.
to get to where I wanted to go.
Gotcha.
So the military for me was a stepping stone where I could learn teamwork,
Okay.
team building. I could learn a little bit more discipline. Not that I wasn't disciplined as a teen,
Right.
um, and it was going to give me the resources for school
Mm.
after
After you graduate.
after I
Or
ended my time in service.
exactly.
Yeah, ETS.
ETS. Oh,
Yep, yep.
okay. Man, they got an
Yeah, the
acronym for
acronyms.
everything. I
Yes,
bet. I
yes.
bet. I bet the government. Anyway, so you get out of the military. You got some money, and
I didn't.
you no.
I got a military. I didn't have any money.
Oh, dang.
So while in the military, I started on my second passion, which was car customizing.
Okay.
So I did $100,000 car customizing. So as I was leaving the military, I had my first
Right.
show car, which became nationally known.
Oh,
And so,
okay.
but it was all falling into my dream of show cars, recording studio, and then manufacturing. So I built my first custom car in 1990, and it became famous. And
What was it called? It
it was
had to
called,
have a name.
of course, it was called the Motown Soldier
Okay.
because I'm from Detroit.
Google that if you're listening. Motown Soldier. It's got to be a picture on the
and I,
internet.
and I dedicated it to the city of Detroit.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that because Detroit is dangerous,
Uh,
and a show car is dangerous. But the city loved me because it was their car, so it had city signage on it, and so it was my first theme type of build, which kind of as Soul Asylum grew,
mhm.
I would do themed location builds like a
Okay.
castle or a laboratory.
Okay.
So I've always stayed in themes and themed rooms.
Okay.
Uh,
All
but
right.
yeah, but I didn't save any money in the military.
Well, we do how we do. And that's what we do.
Yes, indeed.
Um,
But it was fit for a good purpose.
yeah, I like an
Mm.
I would assume.
Yeah, indeed.
I would assume indeed. So you're out there, you're detailing cars, when
Designing, building
designing your
cars. Yep,
cars,
building
building
cars.
cars,
Mhm.
some really flashy and cool stuff. Also represents your community. I dig all those vibes. But so when did the studio start happening?
So I built the Motown Soldier. I did my traveling. I did my shows and things with that and competed in the
Mhm.
sound. And then once I ETS'd out of the military, I went back home and then I went to school, ended up being a broadcasting arts school.
Okay,
I couldn't find a recording school, but it still got me into that. And
closer.
yes, and then I started Soul Asylum. But that $100,000 that I used for that show car, it got stolen.
Man,
No, this was a blessing because
okay.
it was the seed money to start Soul Asylum Studios.
I see.
So it was a really great investment if in the end, because when the car got stolen, I remember State Farm did not want to pay because they couldn't believe this car existed
Uh-huh.
and no one could put that amount of money in the car. And this is a great story. So it was a huge fight with State Farm. It was such and such. And so finally the rep asked me to come to State Farm with pictures of the car.
Mhm.
And when I walked in, he had his child there that day, and his child went crazy. And his dad didn't understand, but the car was famous, not me.
Mhm.
The vehicle, it was a custom convertible Cherokee. The vehicle was famous, and the kid was like, "Dad, this is the car I was telling you about that I see through the city,
Mm.
that such and such and such." And they cut the check that same day.
Ooh.
It was no more conversation. It was a real thing, and that I got $18,750,
All right.
and that's what I got my LLC and a little bit of equipment
Yeah.
in 1993, and
Yeah.
then I just kept going up from there.
Cool. That was the seed money then.
Yes, and I even got the vehicle back because all they stole was the audio system,
Right.
and it was a very expensive audio system.
But still, you
Yeah.
got the vehicle back.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it's so funny how sometimes that you rarely hear a good story that
Yeah,
involves the
it's all bad,
insurance.
bad, bad. But no,
Yeah, but it worked out, and I'm glad because I mean, so you start the studio in Detroit,
hmm
and somehow you end up in Atlanta. Was it just like a weather related decision, or what was your thinking?
it was. Well, I outgrew my mom's basement,
Uh,
but I could have stayed there a little bit longer. But she didn't like the rappers coming to her house in Detroit, and you can
oh,
imagine
yep, I can.
doing hip hop. Plus the vehicle,
Right,
because I did stay in my mom's basement,
right.
coming home till I could, you know,
Yeah, yeah. Oh
start
yeah,
get that
build.
business
You
and
could
get
build
that
it.
going.
Yeah.
Um, but I somehow visited Atlanta, and I don't really remember all of it. I just remember my mom coming to me saying, "I thought you were moving to Atlanta." And I was like, I don't remember saying that.
Hmm.
She's like, well, you got to get your studio out of here. So you might as well take it to Atlanta. And that's what I did.
Dang.
Uh,
Okay.
and yeah,
Wow.
and it was
That.
another blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Atlanta was a growing early music scene.
Yeah.
And so I was able to, I understood a little bit about marketing, but I didn't.
Uh-huh.
But the show vehicle was my marketing tool. And the vehicle was so cool and it was so special. I remember one time I was on Peachtree,
Uh-huh.
Atlanta.
What did it look like? Kind of.
It was
Could you
a it
describe it?
was a white Jeep Cherokee
Uh-huh.
lower with a Gucci interior. But
Ooh.
this is the 90s,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
understand. I
A
understand. I'm
Gucci
from the
interior.
'90s
Okay,
too,
okay,
man. It's
okay.
cool. It's
So it's
cool.
a Gucci interior. It was a wall of speakers,
Yeah.
so and red speakers. So when you saw it coming, all you saw was huge 15-inch woofers, but the back was all gold fuses and amp racks. It was extreme.
Okay.
But that vehicle got me accepted into the culture in Atlanta
Okay.
because I remember being Atlanta has a cruising strip called Peachtree,
Okay.
and this was a defining moment for Soul Asylum also because I'm on Peachtree, everybody's going crazy on the vehicle because you could hear it like I don't know 8 blocks away or 10 blocks away.
All right.
It was a studio quality build,
Proper.
loud system, and the news were out there filming, and somehow I got gridlocked between me and Jermaine Dupri in a Lamborghini. Now I didn't know who Jermaine Dupri was because I'm new to Atlanta, but Atlanta knew who Jermaine Dupri was.
Hmm.
But my vehicle got more light than the Lamborghini, and the news team came over and filmed me,
Ooh.
and that kind of and when Abe was like, "What are you doing here?" I own Soul Some Studios and such and such, so it just kind of gave me a boost up in the industry.
Yeah.
And then he didn't really speak to me, but he did come over and he had checked out the vehicle. The news caught him checking out the vehicle, but that's great marketing
Oh yeah.
for an audio person in a city that's kind of a black music culture city,
Yeah.
And from there I didn't have a name, but they knew about the Cherokee
Yeah.
and the studio guy, and so that just kind of helped also.
Do you feel like you're more kind of like a design engineering kind of guy, or
I am. Music is my life, and
right?
music is life, and I've always
But
been in tune to music.
you've
But
taken a certain tack with it, and
I design. Even engineering. If I teach somebody engineering, and let's say I'm working on a project and I can't mix the project, and one of my team members mixed the project, the client will come back and be like, "Hey, I hear you on this song." I'm like, "Oh no, they mix it like no." The way it's designed and put together, that's kind of like a Rafael feel. I was like, well, I did have to assist them on the
right,
mix, because it just wasn't where we wanted it to release to the client.
right,
So I do feel I'm more on the creative side, but I'm still very technical,
yeah, yeah,
but in the end, yes,
yeah,
I have to agree with you.
yeah. You do the mixing too sometimes.
Yeah, that is literally how I was able to afford Soul Asylum in the earlier days,
Okay.
because in the music industry has had many transitions, and you don't make this type of money now, but
Hmm.
I mean, you could get 30 to 50 grand from mixing one album,
Wow.
and you can't get that from recording an album. But this is
Right.
the 90s
Right.
and the early
So
2000s.
it's different now.
Yeah, it's different now. It's more saturated, it's equipment is more accessible,
Okay.
but no, my specialty is mixing,
Mhm.
but of course, it took years to become a mixing engineer. So I
Okay.
didn't just jump in the game and become a mix engineer. Even though I was mixing early, I still had so much to learn where I didn't disrespect the trade by saying I was a mix engineer.
Right. Okay.
So I was mixing in the 90s.
Okay.
I was mixing for celebrities in the 90s, but I didn't call myself a mix engineer.
Hmm.
I would say around 2007, I felt I had enough to. I'm a mix engineer,
Hmm. You
and
could
yeah,
put that out there and say it, and
right,
represent it.
right, yeah,
Yeah, I got you.
mhm.
Wow. So, all right. So mixing, customizing cars.
Yeah,
You're like interesting because I mean, I feel like, I mean, now with Soul Asylum Studios, you work with all kinds of A-list stars. I mean, like performers, artists, outfits.
Mhm.
I mean, Justin Bieber. I mean, you could name them. You could probably rattle them off. I could look at my list. I
Well,
could
yeah,
sit
I
down,
mean,
but
we've
yep,
Soul Asylum Studios in the beginning.
yeah,
Even in the beginning, I was besides the luck of the situation on Peachtree,
right,
I still understood networking
okay,
and politicking, and I didn't fully understand marketing, but I had a grind, so I had flyers early.
okay,
There weren't many. There were no home studios, so even though I was a home studio, I had high end gear in a home studio because I didn't understand how to get a I didn't understand rents and leases as far as getting commercial property. I was
gotcha,
really young on that, so I had the equipment, but I didn't know at that time I could just go get a building.
right,
I always thought that was you had to be McDonald's or Burger King. So I was a little naive on those things, but I understood enough marketing to where, and I had enough visibility to where I was engineering for celebrities, even in my little apartment. I was already working with Sony Music from my apartment in '95. So my name already had, I won't say rung bells,
hmm.
but I had enough respect to where
What are the kids calling it nowadays? Aura. You had a little aura.
I had a little aura,
Okay.
but or just names ringing bells. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
that guy, it's gonna sound good,
yeah,
and I could compete with major studios,
yeah.
but not charge a major studio price. And I was always reinvesting in equipment,
Mm,
so I might have a couple $100,000 in an apartment, which by then I wasn't in an apartment. I was in a loft,
yeah,
a 3,000 square foot loft.
yeah,
But that's like '97, and then I didn't get to build my first custom studio until 1999.
yeah.
And that's when I went commercial. I understood, but I started small.
Okay. That's
Mhm.
that's really that's an incredible story. It sounds like, I mean, it sounds like you, honestly, like your skill set. I wouldn't even know how you would have. I mean, you do so many
You
different
can't put me in
things.
a box.
I can't put
Yeah,
you in a
you can't put me in a
box.
box.
Can't say you're just this, you're just that, but you're doing all these things, and you're doing it in a way that's getting you attention, and you're building off of that, and making the connections that I think of. I mean, you've thrived enough that you've got locations. You've got all kinds of different locations, correct?
Yes, yes, I do.
Other
Uh,
parts of, yeah.
so I ran, I went, of course, from the mom's basement to an apartment to a loft, and then by 1999, I was able to custom build my first location.
Okay.
Um, and then from that, um, I ended up getting another location, but it still was, I was leaving one location, going to another. I didn't actually start having multiple locations until 2009.
Okay.
And that's when I, well, first, necessity is the mother of all inventions.
That's it.
So
That's what they
I
say.
never want to come off sounding like this prolific prophet. It was like
Okay.
I needed to do music.
Mhm.
I wasn't going to work for anyone else. And it's not because I was lazy, it's because no one would work as hard as me. And while in school, I did have a job and they kept promoting me to keep me at that job,
Mm,
but they could never pay me what my real worth was. So it wasn't that I didn't want to work for someone else, but if I can take your store from doing 100,000 a year to 1 million a year, you're
mhm.
not about to give me $500,000. You
Right.
actually can't and run your store. You're just going to give me a $5 an hour raise and some such and such, and
Yeah.
then I got to come up with greater ideas for the
Pat on the
next
back.
year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I decided to just take all that energy for Soul Asylum,
Yeah.
and just kept reinvesting. But necessity is the mother of all inventions. So when I even got multiple locations,
Mhm,
it was literally because I was losing my celebrity clients.
mhm,
Someone would come to me, green, get a major deal,
mhm.
become big, and now they're, I won't say ego, but because of how the industry go, they can't come back to Soul Asylum because now they need to be at a big swanky studio because
Mhm.
it fits with their profile.
Right.
So that made me build my first multi-million dollar facility. It isn't because it was going to make me, it's because I really got tired of, being with the client. Now they're Grammy nominated and now they're at
Some other studio.
a big studio just
Yeah.
because it looks good on
Yeah.
camera, and then it has the big board in it,
Yeah.
and that was my expansion. But I knew when I went to that big studio, I couldn't leave my smaller clients behind because they couldn't afford my new multi-use facility. So I kept what I call a satellite location. So now I was able to keep my indies happy
Mhm.
at their price point
Mhm.
and get the bag from the label deals.
No, that's a real smart idea. I think honestly, I
Necessity.
was creeping on the website and I
Mhm.
saw that I was like affordable rates. That if I was a musician, I would be clicking that, click, 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 click,
Yeah.
click.
And it stays booked,
Yeah, I bet it does.
and
Yeah.
then when they feel like they're, I always have to watch what I say. That's why I don't do a lot of interviews because I've been in the music business a really long time. But if you are an artist
Mhm.
and you have elevated and you have dedicated so much of your time, you do want to be in the bigger room
Yeah.
with the bigger scene, and there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So even our with my smaller locations, sometimes though it stays booked, those smaller people come to the bigger room because now they just want to be in a room that Future was in
Right.
or Ti was in to
Right.
get inspired,
Yeah.
and then they'll go back, or they'll just record their whole album in my satellite locations, which are extravagant. They are nice,
Hmm.
and they'll do the music video in the big location, and then
Okay.
everybody will assume it was all recorded there,
I gotcha. I
where
gotcha.
Ti recorded, or where I can go on and on, or they
It like it
recorded him.
becomes. I feel like the whole thing becomes like. I mean, it's more than the sum of like one part or one part. You guys like kind of are like building like a collective identity for what this project is. Soul Asylum Studio.
Yes, and understanding the passion, because in
Yeah.
the end, I never wanted to be famous. And if you come to my locations, I have clients that have been clients for 10 years that have
Hmm.
never met me,
Hmm.
but they walk by me and they think I'm the janitor because I'm introduced as the janitor. And I am
Are you
fine.
you're not
No, I'm
serious?
serious.
Oh, okay.
And I am fine with that
That's dedication.
because in the end, I'm a creative
Yeah.
too. And I know if someone comes, it should be about them.
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are. If I walked into CNN and the owner was there, it's going to be about that owner,
Hmm.
versus just that artist feels important and there's no hierarchy. It's like
Yeah.
they're the most important person because it never has an owner
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Titles, and as name tags. Sometimes I can respect wanting to just be like I'm always on the level right
yeah,
here. You
and
know.
absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you'll start believing your own
Respect.
stuff doesn't
Yeah.
stink,
Yeah.
and so it just keeps a even kill
Yeah.
for me. And that works for me. I don't know if that would work for any other brand, but for Soul Asylum Studios, which stands for loving music, it's in your soul,
Mhm.
but you're crazy. That's why it's the asylum, and you are locked into your
Ah. All right.
passions.
All right.
So
I
that's
hadn't
what it
thought about it
means.
so literally. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it means. And we had the name before the rock band came out because
Okay.
I was 14. I don't think the group was out in 1984.
No.
They might have been, but I don't really think so. But mine was based off of my craziness and my passion for music. I could be mad at you.
Yeah.
I could feel at that teenage that I wanted to fight you, but someone could come in and play me some music and it would calm me.
Okay.
And so I knew I was crazy, and music kept me calm. So I
Yeah.
would always be locked in because it was in my soul.
All right.
Okay, but I didn't mean to detract.
No,
So
no.
where we're going?
Honestly, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Everything makes sense now. If you haven't checked out their website, go check out their website.
SoulSoundStudios.com.
That's right. You can see exactly what you're working with. Some beautiful stuff. So you designed that, and you also designed speakers.
Yes, I'm
So
the
how did that happen? So you just add another. You're like, you know what I want to do today? I'm gonna design some speakers.
necessity is the mother of all
Yeah.
invention. Um,
Yeah.
I like sound.
Okay.
Sound is so important to me. Again, in the 90s, I was competing in car audio for sound. My first build, and it's just how God works.
Hmm.
My first build, the guy who built my first build was famous and I didn't even know it. He
Hmm.
was like the number one builder of car audio
Hmm.
systems in the world. And that's who my first build came from.
Gotcha.
And I didn't go there looking for that. I just ended up there,
Hmm.
and my passion for what I wanted, they was like, we can't do that. We'll bring in somebody that can do it.
Hmm.
And I didn't know he was a legend at the time. But so if you take my first build being at that level, and then I'm going into music and my passion, by the time Soul Asylum now can, Soul Asylum has always had show cars,
Hmm.
but now it's time that I'm spending more time on the road.
Hmm.
I was having a problem leaving the studio and
Hmm.
not having the same sound in the studio.
Hmm.
I mean, same sound in the vehicle that I had in the studio.
Okay.
So I started tinkering and trying to develop car
New.
audio to give me a better sound.
Ah.
Um, and it took some years
Yeah.
and some investment,
Yeah.
but I got it.
Yeah.
Then when I got it, I was unhappy with the studio.
Oh. So how did so okay so all
It's a
right,
lot.
let me
I'm
wrap my
sorry.
head around
Yes.
this. So you're like, hey, this car doesn't sound like the studio.
Yes.
Being that I'm in the business, I'm gonna like start thinking
I'm gonna
about how
figure.
you can figure it out, and now like so does
Then
that change the way you design studios now? Or?
it did.
Okay.
It did, but it didn't because studios always sounded amazing
Hmm.
and the studio design sounded amazing, but it just, and I skipped a step. When the studio didn't sound like the car,
Hmm.
there wasn't a manufacturer that could give me what I developed in my vehicle. So
Okay.
I have a Hummer called the Soulsum H2, and it's world famous.
Hmm.
I can, Cadillac was just at our location, and their driver brought in vehicles from Cadillac.
Hmm.
And when he walked in the building, he's like, "Hey, that's the Hummer from the History Channel."
Hmm.
Don't know this guy from nowhere. He literally just drives around the world delivering trucks. So that's how famous this Hummer is.
Hmm.
Uh, the Hummer has 88 speakers, 25,000 watts, but it's not a loudspeaker. I was experimenting with high headroom
Uh-huh.
for an immersive sound before I even knew Dolby was going to do immersive sound. That's what I was calling my development, where the music kind of wraps around you. So this 25,000 watt Hummer, I'm an audio engineer.
Uh-huh.
I can't be around loud music. I could be, but it would damage my hearing. So people are like, how do you own this loud vehicle? And such and such, but I never cut it up. I don't have to.
Hmm.
If I have 25,000 watts and 88 speakers, but each speaker is designed for a specific amplifier to perform a certain type of way at the lightest volume, the music will wrap around you. And if it's different stages and different levels, because I have a
Yeah, but
front, a mid, a such and such.
it's like almost like having more strings to play with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I had more control in the
Yeah.
audio.
Yeah.
So I was able to create this thing. And I'm a 3 times world champion in sound quality.
Okay.
So it isn't like I just did, it was pretty.
Hmm.
I would travel and compete and became a world champion. So,
You can travel and compete for that?
yes,
Oh
I,
wow!
I didn't even bring my rings. I have like Super Bowl diamond rings for world
What?
championship. Yeah, I have like
You
three of
should
them.
have brought the rings, man.
That's so
I gotta
flagrant.
see that
It's
now.
so flagrant though.
You can. I'm
People are
just
like,
gonna
you
be
play
wondering.
sports? I'm like no,
No.
car audio, like
Car audio.
Mecca. I'm a world champion. They like, really? Yeah, like, yeah, that's a thing.
All
Uh,
right, low key. Can you answer this question for me? Is it possible that music just sounds better in a car than it does anywhere else?
no, but yeah, but no, no. It has to be. eh, Now I'm gonna get a little flagrant.
Okay.
It has to be a car I designed for you
Ah, gotcha.
because
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
I can't ride in a regular car.
Okay.
Every one of my cars has a custom system,
Yeah.
but it isn't a boomy system.
Okay.
It's a studio grade system.
Yeah.
But if I double back on why I developed my monitor, the studio was nice, but it got to where I was getting so much emotion from my vehicle that
Hmm.
now when I'm mixing an R&B song in the studio, I
You go
wasn't getting the emotion from the monitors.
right.
So
So
I'm in there.
do you find yourself testing your stuff in your car?
Not once I developed my monitor,
Okay.
but before I came out with my monitors, I was always doing a car test.
Okay.
But I hadn't did a car test in 6 years because my monitor's been on market for 6 years.
Okay.
But literally, if I just touch on that, just imagine I'm mixing an R&B song and it's a sad song, and I know I have to put that emotion in it, but I'm not hearing that from my monitor. So if I'm EQing a certain way or compressing a certain way
Hmm.
to grow that artist's emotion, so it translates to any listener, I wasn't getting that from the monitors, and
Hmm.
I had the best monitors in the world.
Hmm.
And so I started researching and developing how I could make my own monitor.
Hmm.
Now, everything is a give and take. To give that, I need information. So I got sponsored by a bunch of car audio companies, and being in the music industry, I'm in there just asking questions.
Hmm.
Hey, why did you go with that driver? Hey, what does this driver do? Why did you do this amplifier? So now I'm getting information like I'm going to college
Yeah.
from the real people who are actual manufacturers, and they had no worry because I'm in the music business. I wasn't, in a
Right.
sense,
They didn't see you as a competition.
right, because technically, if McLaren or Mats or Fosgate needs me at an event, they're not introducing me as a car audio guy. They's like the owner of the Soul Asylum Studios group is bringing out one of his company promo
Oh
vehicles,
man,
and
that's
so I'm
you're
in
like a
every
secret
circle.
spy, man.
I'm in every
You're just
circle, but
like, let
no
me just
threat.
change my costume,
But
and
no threat. They didn't
but
even
it's still
know.
the same,
Like
right? Yeah.
10 years when I dropped my monitor, they always like, when were you working on that? It's like the whole time.
That must have been satisfying. That must have been
The whole
satisfying.
time. And I literally was able to create an active four-way,
Yeah.
the first hex amp monitor in the world. And all that means is 6 amplifiers and one pair of speaker.
Okay.
It's 6 drivers, and every driver has its own amplifier.
All right.
So there is no crosstalk. There is no issue with splitting ohm levels because the average speaker comes with 2 or 3 amplifiers, and that one amp will operate 2 subs, and that one amp may operate the highs and the lows. So it's like a two-way if you go to a three-way, or they may spend a little extra money and have a 3.5 way. But we did an actual true four-way with 6 amplifiers, and every driver got its own amplifier, and the parameters of the driver was made specifically for the amplifier. The amplifier was only putting out the frequency the driver wanted. So now I could put 1290 watts on something and it wouldn't be harsh. And it had so much headroom that as soon as you cut it on, if my monitor was in this room right now and we were whispering, you would hear every frequency: 10
Mm.
hertz, 20 hertz, 50 hertz, 500 hertz, 4K, 8K. And it wouldn't be like, hey, cut it up so we can hear more.
Mm.
It automatically, you hear it. And that was what I
Right.
got from the Hummer being 25,000 watts and high headroom, meaning 25,000 watts power ready, but I don't need all that power
You have the whole equalizer.
with a volume knob.
Yeah. With the volume.
Yeah, by design, but by design. And that's
Wow.
why the monitor came.
Man, I'm gonna these sound so dope. Honestly, they would. I couldn't even put them in my car. My car's not special enough for those.
No, put them in your living room.
I, there you go.
Put a pair in here.
Yeah, yeah. Bring them everywhere.
We almost brought a pair with us, but I was like, I don't want to get sidetracked. But we really did. Amber almost made me, but I was like, no, we'll get sidetracked. We're here for design and consult, not
That's
sales.
cool. That's what's up. So you've got something else that's coming out like this summer. Did I hear that correct?
Uh, Technically, no.
Okay.
I don't, because something is always coming out.
All
And
right.
I'm always working on something, but I'm not dropping anything new because I already have 8 lines developed. I just have to release more and more and more.
8 lines of the speakers.
8 different lines.
Oh wow.
Yes.
All right. So
Mhm.
all right. So what? So if I can peer behind the curtain, I don't know if you're going to be willing to share, but what are some of the things you've been interested in lately? I mean, as far as where have your passions? I mean, you're here in Milwaukee, and
Mhm.
you've got knowledge to share and guidance. I think for this mysterious project that I'm sure we'll all
We
hear
won't call
about
it
it.
mysterious. But
Yeah.
it's a, I don't know if it's a public project, but it's a destination location that Milwaukee really needs,
Yeah.
and it's being put together.
Yeah. I don't know if you've just this is your first time in Milwaukee.
Yes, to sound ignorant or naive,
Okay.
Milwaukee only existed to me like
Place on a
if
map.
a basketball team
Oh.
was called the Bucks and I so happened to be watching sports, but I didn't realize it was a real place with great people and great community. I really enjoyed here. It's beautiful.
Well,
Also, when it's not raining.
True,
Yeah.
true, true. Try us in the summer is always my
We're
best
coming back.
advice, especially if you're like from a place as naturally nice as Atlanta, Georgia, where you're at least operating there.
Mhm.
But yeah, Milwaukee and really, what we're doing here and teaming up with our partners is, I feel like there's a spirit of like Milwaukee wants like there to be like musical hubs and encourage the arts and I think that if I've outlined that project, that's a lot of what you're going to be helping out here in Milwaukee. And that expertise
Yes.
is really cool. I mean, because we
Yes.
do need some top-notch studios. We do, need sort of, just like that foundation that we can build. So,
Well, I think what Milwaukee needs is what Sarah's working to bring you guys.
it's
And
true.
don't have a name. She hasn't given me a name for it, but it's all of those
It's
things.
coming. Yeah.
It's gonna be community. It's gonna be
Yes.
education.
Yeah.
It's gonna be molding talent. But it's also gonna be bringing in partnerships with major corporations.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the successes of Soul Asylum Studios, and I think that's another reason they brought us in on the project, not just because of our unique designs and flow of locations,
Mhm.
but we do a lot of partnerships, be it community or corporations. Because one of the questions you asked me earlier still ties back. If you think music, music business, no one does not listen to music in their car. So that means the music business is also in the automotive business.
Mhm.
Like Cadillac, their new IQ, they say they're going after the music industry with this vehicle. So they're now literally making cars searching for people that work in the music industry.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that impressed me. That blew me
Yeah.
away because I'm like, we were usually like the last thought because most people see musicians and musicians as irresponsible,
Yeah.
and now they're
Yeah.
literally designing cars
Yeah.
with outputs and options
Yeah.
for audio
For
engineers.
how people actually listen.
Yes, and that's amazing to me,
Yeah.
showing how it grows.
Yeah.
So, um, and again, what Sarah and her group is bringing, one, we're proud to be a part of it, but two, it's if it wasn't good, Soul Asylum wouldn't exist, and you would not be interviewing me because the the accolades and the decades of success literally comes because our tagline is where education experience makes a sound difference.
Mm.
But our motto is create, relax, create. So it's always about the vibe, but having a medical background only from the military,
Mhm.
continued education is what
What did you
was.
do in the military?
I was
Oh,
medical.
there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was supposed to be an occupational therapist,
Mhm.
but I ended up only getting as far as EMT.
Okay.
The war kicked off, and you don't have as many rights as you think you have in the military.
Understood. Say
When
less.
they say go, you go.
Right.
You can
So,
say no, but good luck with that.
but you were on another track also.
Hmm.
Come back to the medical.
Yes, as far as
Oh, okay. I think we might have lost that train.
okay.
It's all good. It's all good. So, all right. If you had any advice for somebody who wanted to, broadly speaking, be a part of music and the business of making it and of producing it,
Hmm.
would you have any advice? Like, what's like kind of some good advice you could give somebody who?
It's
Because I
all
feel like,
it's always gonna be the same advice for
yeah.
me.
Okay.
Even not to cut you off, but
No. No. Go
the
for
most
it.
important thing is to stop watching the clock. I don't care if it's music or it's a career or it's something you're building. Stop watching the clock. There is no timeline on that. But now going for anything in music, but I still feel the same for video or for anything you want to do. Work with someone. You don't always have to think you need to be attached to a celebrity. When my chops came up from just being willing to work. I might literally be out in one of the vehicles marketing, putting up flyers
Mhm.
late at night and run into an artist. And if I have some downtime, I would actually produce and record a whole album on that artist. And it might not go anywhere, but that's my 10,000 hours.
Yes.
That work is giving me the experience. And somebody might look up and only like one of these songs. But what if I was being cheap and only recorded him one song?
I get
So
what you're saying.
I feel like anybody that want to succeed in music or anything, they should be doing and working and not watching the clock or the bank account. And somebody can say to me, "Oh, that's easy to say because you've made it." But no, I had 3 car repossessions. I lost a house, but I never lost a studio.
Mm.
So and all of the things where I couldn't get the income, I was getting the income. I just was reinvesting
Mm.
and working because I wasn't watching money. I wasn't like, okay, I made it because I made 500,000 or this, that, and the other. No, it's like, how much work do I have out there, people listening to, and how much
Mm.
better am I getting from the amount of work I'm doing?
Yeah.
So the short answer to that is to work, and it doesn't always have to be paid work. Get you a part-time job then,
Yeah.
and it doesn't always have to be notary work,
Mhm.
because if it's good, somebody's going to hear it anyway,
Yeah.
and if they even steal it, that's a positive and a negative
Yeah.
because you were that good that they had to steal it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I
And if
do.
you were that good that they had to steal it, I bet you could make more, but they
Yeah.
can't make more. They got to steal something
They
else.
got
But
to
now
keep
you
stealing
lawyered
it.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now they buying, so you just got to understand, take the good with the bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what you said about reinvesting. I feel like that's
Yes.
like one of the laws of power, or the laws of wealth, or something like
I
that.
don't know,
Just
but it's
anyway.
critical.
Yeah.
It reinvesting is critical. And also in 97, no, 96, I was doing my thing. 97 was doing my thing. And a lady had came up to me. She's like, such and such. I was like, yeah, yeah, I do this, that, and the other. She's like, yeah, but do you market and advertise? I was like, word of mouth, and I do my flash. She's like, no, you need to start running ads and such and such. I was just like, I blew her off. She's like, yo, I will run ads for you for 1 month, and if it increases your sales, I want $700 a month. Back in '97, $700 a month, that was a lot.
That was, yeah.
You know, I don't care what you say.
What year you say?
At 97,
Oh,
96, 97.
that was an apartment. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I remember those times.
My
I
apartment.
just had to
Yeah,
compute
okay.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. And I
Yeah.
was already in a studio apartment. But this lady,
Ironically enough.
yes,
Yeah.
she changed my life
Yeah.
because in that time, I went and bought a CD burner,
Okay.
and it was $6,000 just for a CD burner because nobody has CD burners. And then the mastering piece to make the CD burner work was $4,500.
Whoa.
So that's like $9,000. And I'm complaining about $700 a month,
Right.
but the equipment had more value to
Right.
me than something I didn't understand, or I was a little too naive to understand because the cars kept my phone ringing because it wasn't just the Cherokee. I had a custom made drop top Celine, you know, so these things that kept the phone ringing. And then I would be out at events. But she ran that ad. She ran an ad, and all it said was "Burn, baby, burn." Thought that was the corniest thing ever.
Disco
Like, I'm from
Inferno,
Detroit.
right?
I'm like, what's this? She's like, no, no one has a CD burner. I'm advertising
Oh,
this in New
yeah.
York and
Okay. I
Chicago,
got you.
all over the world, and people were literally sending me DAT tapes and cassette tapes, you know, to convert to CD from this lady's idea of marketing of Burn Baby Burn. And then she would put ads in local magazines. And I was saying something to Sarah, like, do everything big. But she would put ads in local magazine and other studios. It was just simple. My ad was $360 a week, but it was extravagant. It was well written typeset. It kind of created a mood.
Mm.
And so people already had a vision of Soul Asylum when they called that number because of how she, I
Had
won't
done
say
it.
typeset, but designed the ad, you
Wow.
know, and it literally blew me up because the service, of course, matched the advertising
Right.
and the passion was there. So if you came into the studio, you already knew
Right.
you're speaking to someone who cares about the project. And I wasn't chasing the dollar, you know, I was chasing my career goals and
And you
dreams.
also weren't watching the clock, so you're putting in
No,
the time.
no,
Yeah.
it definitely wasn't. And so it all tied together. So I believe to double back to be successful, even in music business, you need to understand, stop watching the clock, work with someone, and have some type of marketing team, you know. And let's just say you ain't doing music, and let's just say you're doing videography, still have some type of marketing team. And I can say that if I double back, when I paid this lady for 2 years, $700 a month. She's like, hey, I'm moving to New York, you know, such and such. And so I said, okay, so I'll just send your checks there. She's like, no, I'm gonna just show you everything I was doing, and you can just take over from here. And wow, she gave me just that little bit of information, and the rest was history. Because imagine being paid to market for somebody, but imagine learning marketing and marketing for yourself.
Yep. Yeah.
And then imagine after marketing for yourself, marketing for your team.
Right.
It just kept growing,
Yeah.
you know, and I just
Yeah.
understood that. So I always tell people, still leave some dollars for marketing. Like, let's say you came to me to mix a song, and let's say back then I was $2,500 a song. I would say, well, how much money you got? And I was like, well, I got $5,000. I was like, okay, why don't we not mix the song? Why don't we just put a rough teaser out of the song, and you take 3,500 and market and promote yourself so people are looking. And once people really start paying you attention because you paying for all these ads, double back with that money, pay me the mix. Because I don't want you to think my mix is about to make you famous.
Right. If
That's not gonna happen.
you let them kind of stick their toe in the water and
Yeah,
like,
you know, get some things going.
traction.
And my
Yeah.
proof in that works. When Google first kicked up, one of my competitors was like, yo, how much you spend a year in advertising? I was like, I don't know, like 45, 50 grand.
Mhm.
They was like, what? I was like, yeah. They's like, we don't see it where. When Google first kicked up, I was advertising in emails. On the sidebar,
Mm.
if you had an email that said music, recording, CD,
Mhm.
I was paying Google to put Soul Asylum in the sidebar.
Mm.
So if you were a major label and all your emails only talk about music, every time you opened your email, you saw Soul Asylum Studios.
Mhm.
And it worked because I wasn't at that time a big enough studio where labels would want to come to me,
Mhm.
but the visual was so big that They
Yeah.
came to me.
So marketing does work.
Yeah, marketing does work.
All
As
right.
long as you can back it up,
Back it up.
with good service. So it can't be
Right.
capped. It can't be capped.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Wow. All right. I like that story.
Yeah.
I like all these stories, man.
I could talk forever.
I
That's why I don't
mean,
talk.
I don't know if I don't know if we got forever. I mean,
No, I hope not.
eventually the day gets long, but yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you here, and I know us and our partners have been sort of lucky for you to just kind of share your lived experience and how you got here and some solid advice. You know,
Just hard work, dedication, and you can't let it happen. You always have to make it happen.
yeah,
And you have to shoot big. People, and before I go, people always say, "Don't share this with anybody. Keep it a secret." Such and such. I don't believe in that. I don't believe everybody should know everything you're doing.
hmm
But I remember there was a time where a label would call me and say, "Hey, we want a book, but you need such and such and such and such." I wouldn't have none of that stuff. It'd be $40,000 in gear I needed. So I might get on social media and like, "Oh, we're so excited. Thank you, Universal Music Group, for booking us for 30 days for such and such project." Now they not coming for a whole month,
hmm
but me saying that Universal is going to be there for 30 days, the Indies like, "Oh, I got to get in there
mm
because hopefully I'm still in there when Universal get there, and I might meet somebody."
You're right.
And I would take their money and buy the equipment, and then
Oh
service
yeah,
and then service
yeah. You
Universal.
had all this extra business.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then if
Okay.
Universal didn't come, it didn't matter
Oh,
because
wow.
the new business saying they were going to come paid for the equipment. So it didn't even matter if they didn't show up in 30 days.
Yeah.
It was already done. Or like if a network come and shoot at my facility, you don't know when it's going to hit the TV screen.
Yeah.
So we don't even care.
Yeah.
We just film them setting up, mention that a TV show is coming,
Right.
and we forget about it. It
Mm.
excites the people.
Yeah.
If it drops, it don't even matter.
Right.
People are happy that Love and Hip Hop or whatever the show was there because now I got to go there. I
Yeah.
got to book because they
Yeah.
might be there on the day I book, and it's just getting that. And then if you take that money and reinvest it back in, it looks good. Or a last story, Ti was recording with me. He was staying in one of our penthouses.
hmm
I had just built a location. I didn't have the funds to really do it the way I wanted to do it, but that isn't true. I just wanted a $6,000 couch. I wanted a $10,000 chair. I wanted a $3,500 TV. Instead, I had $1,000 couch, an $800 chair. But after he did 30 days of booking, I had all
You
that
had all
money
that. Yeah.
and I didn't put any of it in the bank. I went straight to the furniture store and bought what I felt like should have been in the place.
Mhm.
And I remember somebody around me was mad because I was kind of back flat broke. I paid all my staff for the month and I was kind of flat broke. Then there was a call like, "Hey, I just need one more day because we're filming a TV show at this other location. So I just need to get some stuff done." And he literally came in. He saw all of the new furniture and said, "I got to film the TV show here."
Mhm.
And they filmed there for 2 years.
Wow.
So you get what I'm saying? So
I
that
get what you're
reinvestment,
saying.
you have to go big and put some things in the atmosphere. I'm sorry to get loud, but I'm a little passionate about that.
No, hey, we
You
like
you
passion.
and people like it's so easy to say. It's
Mhm.
not. Nothing was given to me.
Yeah.
I didn't do this with partners and investment. And if you think about all the things I've done with the major record labels,
Mhm.
I've never taken a purchase order. So I've never had guaranteed income. It was always if come. If we do this and the people are happy, we make money.
Wow.
But it isn't like some of my fellow major studios. They know Atlantic's spending 20 grand this month or 30 grand this month, and they can make them choices. It's like, no, I'm going to have to service these clients. They're happy and save my profit and then just keep moving forward and also make sure I'm advertising.
Well, it sounds like you're on the right path.
I think so after 32 years.
Yeah. 32 years.
Yeah, 32
Just
years.
32 years?
Just
I'm just
32.
kidding, man.
I'm only 55. So I've been a successful business owner longer than I've actually been non-business owner. Because you think I started the business at 23.
Yeah.
I'm 55. The
Wow.
company is 32 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we know.
Yeah, now you know.
Yeah.
Hope I didn't bore you guys.
Oh, no,
Hopefully you picked up something, a
no,
little jewel here and there.
you heard it from we got people out here who are helping with this recording and this broadcast or
And they're
whatever,
doing a great job.
whatever we're calling this. But
Mhm.
yeah, great job. And keep up the good work.
Indeed.
It's been my pleasure. I'm Marcus Doucette. This is my new friend Rafael.
Rafael Capone, and you can follow me on social media. It's at Mr. Rafael Capone, or on LinkedIn. If you run a corporation, it's Mr. Rafael Capone. I'm not on TikTok. I don't I'm not. My company is, but I'm not on TikTok. Just Instagram
Okay.
and Facebook. Yeah.
All right.
And it's
All
all
right.
Rafael Capone.
That's all right. And your website, you already
It's
got
just
that?
soulsomestudios.com.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. I also want to once again, I'm Marcus Doucette with Sincerely and Sound podcast. Once again, thank all of our partners here, the New State, Washington Park Media Center, Purple Unicorn, and Milwaukee Microphones, classic
Great
microphones
microphones,
for
by the way.
modern stage. Yeah, these are cool.
They look cool.
I feel like if I could
I need a
sing,
selfie with
it
Frank's mic.
probably would have happened
Yeah.
already, but I
I can't
can't.
sing,
Yeah,
but I do feel you. I feel like the smoothness in my voice is
I
like,
know.
yeah, ladies. All
Yeah,
right. We thank you guys
I
for
just
coming
talk
out.
real deeply. That's all I do. Slowly. All right, so it's been my pleasure. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you for
All
having
right.
me. All right. All right.